We're back in here at the Blue Moose Studios for everybody.
I call it the Azul Moose
The
Studios.
Azul Moose Studios, which, oh no, we still got our moose clock over there.
Yeah,
I got a
there's
couple
the
different...
mooses over there.
Yep, not meese, but mooses. It's so
Or
weird, dude,
moose.
plurals in
Or is
English.
it just moose?
It's moose, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Same with deer. Like, I think deer, you could say deers,
No, you can't.
but it's kind of awkward,
No,
right?
you can't say deers.
There's 5 deers there. There's 5 deer. Yeah, you're right. There's 5 deer over there.
That's how you figure it out?
Yeah. Sometimes you got to give it a little litmus test, Jared. You know?
Okay, that's
Make
hilarious.
sure. I mean, honestly, there were times when I was in grad school where we would repeat random sentences to try to figure out. And as a native speaker, you get that feeling of just what feels right, what sounds right.
But then if you say
You
it
know?
too many times, it doesn't sound right anymore.
Well, right. That's true.
You
Yeah.
ruined it.
Right. Soiled it, as some would say. That's right. But today we're talking about an interesting topic, which I think is, well, one of my questions for today's episode is a house or getting a house kind of the gold standard in the U.S.? Like, I think when a lot of people think of like the old school American dream, they say, you know, the house with the white picket fence, maybe the minivan. If you tuned into our last episode on road trips, you definitely will understand the importance and usefulness, I guess, of minivans.
The ultimate vehicle.
You know, maybe their dog or their cat and their, you know, 1.3 kids or whatever the stat is or whatever. But, you know, and you've been house hunting as well, which I thought is a fun reason to talk about this topic today as well for our episode. And also to discuss how different countries view having a house. Because in some places, you know, most people have apartments, and it can be due to different reasons, right? We're very fortunate in the U.S., generally speaking. We have a lot of space. We have space for housing, like houses. But some countries, you know, they have a really, really high population density. It's just not possible for everyone to live in a house.
In China, is it uncommon for someone to own a home?
It depends on how wealthy they are. I would say your average person in China probably has an apartment.
Do you have to be wealthy to own a home?
Well,
So like in the U.S., you don't have to be wealthy to own a home.
right. I think in China it depends where you live.
Sure.
I don't know what the cost of a house is kind of out in the countryside.
I imagine
in
if
China.
you live in like any big city, you'd have to be wealthy to own a
Yes,
home. Like,
for sure.
Yeah, if you
For
live
sure.
in Shanghai or
Beijing, yeah. I mean, I saw apartment complexes that you know, I'm sure just an apartment in that place is
there
ungodly expensive.
is there any sort of prestige to owning a house in China?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Like you know when you know, you look at like Oprah's estate, you know, and it's like, wow, look at that. I wonder if they get if it's like maybe it's like, look at this penthouse or something. I don't know.
I don't know either. That's a good question. I don't know. I have heard though actually about Russia. I've heard there's been some backlash from some of the kind of wealthier business people over there. I forget
can
this
only
one.
imagine.
This one guy had this estate. I think estate is the appropriate word for it because it's like a giant mansion with. It looked like a palace. And you know, when you have a country where some people are barely able to afford to buy basic necessities, and then you have someone else build a pompous palace.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to make some people feel some type of way, for sure. I don't know though. I think it's interesting in the U.S. From a lot of people, there's a lot of I think amnesty and hostility towards very wealthy people and like rich people who can afford. Well,
Damn
some
right.
of them can't afford them, but they get them anyways. But then there are other people who can afford some of these crazy huge mansions and houses and things like that. The thing that I think is kind of funny and interesting is the idea of like a McMansion. And that is a very, I think, American thing.
The McMansion, is that like the sort of like the company constructed, like where you go into a neighborhood and like there's like 3 styles of home. And they're
but they're all pretty big houses. They're nice houses.
But it's like a new subdivision kind of situation.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like this is a big home, but it's actually not that expensive because we're the first person to live in this new neighborhood they made.
Yep.
Yeah. And they all look the same and are all made by the same company.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think that's kind of interesting too.
You know, it's actually funny that you're saying that because when I was on the way here, I'm kind of surprised at the number of houses I see getting built around here.
There's a lot. You should see have you seen the condos downtown?
No. No, I mean even just on this street, there's like
that
2 or
sentence
3.
right there. By the way, Jared, shows you that I grew up in a small town. When I said, "Did you see the condo?" Yeah, they've built up condos.
Yeah, the condos.
You know,
That's no, I did not see the condos downtown.
but yeah, there's been a lot of people. It seems like have been building houses and other stuff around here.
Yeah, that's something that
Maybe that's a good sign. I would assume so. I hope.
I mean, it's just a sign. I'm sure it's a good sign for the economy when more people move there. It's
Good sign for America.
It's just an
Jared.
interesting thing to see. I feel like I don't know. I feel like is that a uniquely American thing to just see houses getting built all the time?
I'm going to give you a yine, a yes and a no.
I mean, that's a very generic thing, obviously.
Right.
There's a lot of different
But
places we can come. But I
would
feel like
say-
even when I
I
lived
would
in
say so,
Germany,
though.
I didn't see just houses being built all the time.
I don't think you see it as much because a lot of places they don't have the land.
Yeah.
We have so much. I don't think a lot of people realize the more I travel to other countries, sadly not in 2020, but in the
Potentially
past,
not 2021 either. Let's
maybe
be
not.
honest.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, I'm hoping to go to Germany in this summer to visit a buddy, and he has a wedding. But we'll see.
Okay.
There'll be some good pop material too if I can make it.
That's
But-
true. If you can make
but we'll
it.
see. Fingers crossed. We're gonna knock on some wood and hope. But anyways, my point here is when you travel to other countries, you start to realize just the difference in population density, and I think that has a lot to do with then your living standards, your cultural standards of living. I think play another big role, right? If all of your friends and all of your family live in apartments, why would you try to go and buy another house? Or you know what I mean? If it's just not. If it's just not culturally kind of the quote unquote norm. Whereas I think here, a lot of people, especially our age, you're getting towards your late 20s, early 30s, where you're starting to, you've worked a couple of years now. Hopefully you've made some connections and your career is on the come up, as Logic would
wow.
say.
I'm excited.
As the come up. and what that means, Jerry, is you can afford nicer things, a nicer car, a nicer house. We've talked about, you've mentioned lifestyle creep. Where
this is a perfect example.
Yep. Yeah, well, I think buying houses can be. You want to keep up with the Joneses. You want to portray a certain image. I was talking to a financial advisor a couple weeks back, and he was telling me he worked with doctors and lawyers and people who made like $250,000 a year. Guess how much money they had left over at the end of the year to save?
Nothing.
Like $2,000 to $5,000.
Right.
If I was making $250,000, I would have so much money saved. That's just unreal.
Yeah, but we imagine these people just rolling around in piles of money.
Right. Their swimming pool just has Benjamins in
But
it.
it's gone as it hits the direct deposit. It's already going right back out.
Yep. Student loans, car payments, huge mortgages. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. We have been convinced or conditioned, should I say, here in the U.S. that owning a home is the right financial move to make. Like you're a fool to rent for your whole life, essentially.
I think for your
honestly,
whole
I haven't crunched the numbers. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've been told.
That's a good point.
And I've been led to believe, because either way, at this point in my life, either way, I still have a payment for the rest of my life. That's essentially the similar to what I would pay if I were just renting a place. Yet I also had to spend like exorbitant amounts up front,
right,
to make it happen.
Well,
to
not
convince them
only-
that I could pay the rent.
Not only up front, but also the upkeep.
Yeah.
The upkeep of a house. If you rent an apartment, you don't have to worry about the upkeep.
Oh, I know, dude.
that's a
I
big
know.
thing.
I'm one to let shit go, but like in a house, you can't really do.
You're going to lose a lot of value and a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's tricky with with an apartment. If you need to repair the roof, that's your landlord's issue. That's not your problem.
No.
You need a new water heater or furnace or something. That's your landlord's problem, not yours. Whereas when you have the house,
just call them. Hey, take care of this.
Yep, exactly. Whereas if it's your house and something happens, you have to worry about it. It's your problem. But I do like the idea of paying off a house and then not having rent payments. I mean, you still have to pay taxes and utilities and stuff, but
how do you? Yeah, I guess you pay off the house by having it for a few years and it makes money, then you sell it and pay off the loan with that money that you sold it with. Because otherwise you just have it for 30, or you pay it off, I guess. I'm talking about like if you have a mortgage, like a normal person. Because obviously if you have cash, you just pay for the house, baller status style.
Right.
But
wouldn't that be nice?
The majority of people that are buying a home, I imagine they're using a mortgage.
Right.
And it's like 30 years essentially. and it's like so where do you think that where's the benefit is what I'm saying
of owning a house?
Yeah.
Well, you do have that option to sell it.
That's
right?
true.
So it is an asset. I mean,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Just the thing about a house is and obviously I'm no expert, I'm no real estate expert, but the thing with a house is you just want to make sure the equity you put in it, you can get back out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning when you sell the house, you're not belly up. You didn't invest way more money in the house that you end up getting when you sell it.
Sure.
So that I think is really the big advantage. Whereas if I rent a place, I can't sell. I don't have an asset to sell, right?
That's true.
Whereas when you have a house, if you get older and maybe you just can't handle the upkeep or you just want to move somewhere else, in theory, you could sell the asset, right? Exactly.
Ooh,
I'm
excited.
Like we had a buddy who just got a house in Detroit. Shout out to our buddy Wally.
Yeah.
And
some of the best home buying pictures of.
Oh, for sure. Which does not surprise me. Wally's awesome. He's such a cool dude. Anyways, the thing with him is I think he even posted something like his house had already appreciated in value a certain amount after he had already just signed on the dotted line. That's how you know if you get the right property.
How does that? Okay, I don't want to ask how does that happen because it seems like a stupid question.
Well, it's just about the appraisal and the value.
Okay.
I guess.
All right. Well, there you go.
They're everything you need to know how. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that's the allure to it, Jared.
Sure.
That's why I think a lot of Americans, a lot of people like the idea of getting a house. I mean, I definitely would like to have a house and eventually a rental property as well. But what do you think is? Are there any other kind of issues or reasons why some people might be very against getting a house?
You mentioned a good one is definitely the if anything were to go wrong, you can't just call the landlord and be like, "Come fix this."
Right.
That I've used that before and it's worked on some pretty big items. You know.
What? Oh, can you share any of them?
Sure. Yeah. Not at this place. In Philadelphia, I had washing machine issues.
Okay.
And I had to get a new washing machine at one of my places. And that certainly is something that. If I own the home, especially if I just bought it and the washing machine stopped working immediately, I might be like, you know what, hang drying is not that bad. It's a pandemic. I'm not even going anywhere. I'll just hang dry.
Yeah, but you said the washing machine, not the dryer.
Oh, right.
Are you going to be hand washing your clothes?
Yeah, I'll hand wash them. I'll just use the sink. Yeah, old school.
You have a dishwasher, don't you?
Exactly.
Just put your clothes in the
instead of
dishwasher.
putting laundry or dish detergent, I'll just put laundry detergent.
Yeah, that'll work totally fine. Yeah. Actually, it's funny you mentioned washing machine issues. I had the same thing actually in China happen, where I had my washing machine. There were a couple different issues. When I first moved into my apartment, I lived in this beautiful 2-bedroom, 2 full bathroom apartment within walking distance to campus, right? And this was like a residential family neighborhood. And so anyways, the washing machine was actually out on my balcony, which is where you would air dry and hang your clothes up.
The washing machine was outside?
It was on my balcony in my apartment.
Oh, but it was covered.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It wasn't like,
When I think balcony, I think you open area to the outside and you stand on something.
Well, I guess here that's what we would consider it. But what else would you call that room? I mean, it has a sliding glass door. You open it. You're technically on the side of the building looking out.
I see. So it is over the side of the building.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Yes. So in that regard, I guess it's still kind of a balcony,
yeah,
right?
Covered balcony, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
sure.
And so anyways, so that's where my washing machine was. And that's where the drain was to drain the water. But the funny thing was I had the little hose from I learned a lot about washing machines my semester in China. There was this like clear hose that's where the water goes after it's clean your clothes and all the soap and all that stuff.
That was a little rhyme you did there.
That's right.
Clean clothes and the water goes down this hose.
That's right. We're starting the untranslatable mixtape, people. Keep your eyes out for that. No, I'm just joking. Anyways, so with that hose though, what happened was when I moved in, it wasn't attached to the drain thing properly. And I guess the dudes that had moved my furniture and stuff, and they were probably just done with it. And they're like, we're just gonna put the hose right here and just leave it. But the way it's supposed to be hooked up is you actually need to have it hooked up in the thing. I learned because it creates this like U shape, which actually helps with the the flow of the water in the wash machine.
How'd you figure this out? Did you?
Because what happened was I would get halfway done with a load of wash, and it would stop because all the water had drained completely out.
Okay, I see.
So what would happen is it would do the cycle, it would spin for a while, and it would sit there for a minute or two, whatever the settings were, and then the water would go back and it would do it, right? And so, anyways, the whole point here is
I've never learned. I've learned so much about a washing machine just in this 2-minute conversation.
Yeah, and this was actually a fairly modern one in China. The other issue I had though was all the directions were in Chinese. Sure. So a lot of it I had to kind of look at and try to figure out. And
were there any like picture representations?
I mean, when I went online, I found some.
Sure.
And figured out why. Because I was just so confused. Like, it would wash my clothes halfway through the cycle and then it wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, why? So, it's pretty frustrating when you're about to leave for a 5-day trip or a 10-day trip, and all the clothes you thought were going to be clean are still wet.
Of course.
And
I've never had. Yeah, I had. where I had a lot of problems with washing machines in Europe.
Okay.
I've never. I'll venture to say I've never come across a good washer or dryer, especially dryer. Mm-hmm. In any European country I've ever been to.
Nope, you won't find it. You just won't.
No dryer. I've yet to use a dryer in Europe that dries a load fully in one go.
Well, you know what else is crazy is
it doesn't exist.
If you
can't get it.
If you use a dryer even in Europe, a lot of the clothes there, they don't have the same junk in them that our clothes do, and they shrink way more.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Our clothes have more junk in them?
Yeah, they don't shrink as much.
Really?
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think so.
Wow.
Because at least I've bought like T-shirts and button-downs and stuff from like places in Germany, and they don't usually use a dryer, and I don't use super high heat on the one here. Sorry for all the boring laundry talk.
I love high heat.
But
I'll heat the shit out of my clothes.
But yeah, so anyways... I think that is one thing, for me, it was no issue. I could just call the person at my university and they would contact the repair person. But if it would have been my house, well, I guess what would happen is if it's still under warranty, there might be a technician that could come and take a look at it, I guess. Yeah. But it's still more your responsibility.
Sure,
Whereas I just made a phone call and then it was taken care of.
Yeah.
So that's a big advantage of apartments for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that really is a big one.
Right. You know what also is, I think, really crucial with houses, apartments, what have you, like you said, is just having that cash in hand for that money down.
Yes.
So if you really want some cash in hand for some money down, Jared, I don't know if you've been hearing about this, but the very famous, tried and true CEO of Tesla, Elon Musk,
now the richest man in the world, apparently,
has announced a $100 million donation for the best carbon capture technology. So, Jared, I think we need to put our thinking caps on here and figure out a good carbon capture method here. And we split it 50-50, 50 mil each. I think we could get a nice house or two.
An article came out after this saying that apparently he wants to start drilling for natural gas in Texas, I believe.
Uh-oh. Well, maybe that's why you create good carbon capture.
And that's why he's willing to invest this much into it. What is carbon capture? I have no idea what it is.
I'm assuming. I'm assuming.
Does it not
here,
say there?
Well, I guess
I can let you guess first. No, please
let
guess
me guess first.
and then.
My assumption is it's just carbon emissions out in the atmosphere. Carbon capture will capture it and store it, and maybe even make it a way to reuse it. Would be my guess.
Oh, so as in like waste carbon?
Carbon emissions.
Carbon emissions. Okay.
If he's drilling for gas, which is ironic because his car is an electric car company.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going off of Twitter news here.
But at the same time, I mean, the carbon capture, I think, also does have quite a few like climate effects as well. Like if you
can harness it.
Right.
Do something with it later.
Right.
Elon Musk's next play, drilling for natural gas, of course. There you go.
So here's
Texas play.
By the way, here's the carbon capture thing. So carbon capture, which is also called carbon capture and storage, CCS, is what people call processes that involve capturing carbon dioxide, CO2, at the source of emission and sequestering in order for it to not leak into the air. Oh, interesting. So it sounds like this would almost be like maybe a filter on
Wait, sorry, can you read that one more time?
Sure.
I didn't realize how scientific that was.
Carbon capture, which is also called carbon capture and storage, CCS, is what people call processes that involve capturing carbon dioxide, CO2, at the source of emission and sequestering it, or wait, sequestrating? Well, I've never even seen
Sequestering.
that. Okay, thank you. That's what I said, wasn't it? Anyways,
No, I don't think that's what you said. I don't know what you said.
Well, basically, I think this just means harnessing it. Based on the context, I would say harnessing.
I gotcha.
Source of emission and harnessing it in order for it to not leak into the air.
Okay.
So you stop it, I guess, before it gets into the air. It also sometimes involves technologies to use the carbon for other purposes. Well, of course, why not?
I'd imagine the main reason of wanting to, I mean, there is obviously we're trying to protect the environment, I guess.
Yep.
But it's also you can use it for something else.
Well, speaking of the environment, Jared, right here, the concept has been suggested as a potential solution to slow down climate change by reducing the amount of carbon dioxide emitted in the atmosphere, or even reversing it in the future. As I said, reversing it would be taking it from the atmosphere. There have been a few, forget what they were, but there have been a few like tests where they saw certain things might be able to take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, actually. So Elon Musk tweeted out, "I'm donating $100 million towards a prize for best carbon capture technology."
He just said "am," not even "I."
When you're Elon Musk, you don't need to.
Hey, you get the picture.
Exactly.
I'll waste my time.
But yeah, so apparently, so the question is, Jared, how does it play into Tesla's plan here? Musk has previously stated that Tesla's mission is to accelerate the advent of electric transport and renewable energy in order to address climate change. So I think that's
how
fantastic.
it plays into the plan. That's
right.
That's simple.
Makes sense.
When you're Elon Musk, keep it efficient.
That's right.
And vague.
Exactly. Why not? Why not? So yeah, that was my my shout out for today. Though I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, sure.
Interesting story.
Oh, I have a shout out too, by the way. I didn't realize that was your shout out.
Spread a little love.
Let me get in on this. Fun.
Spread a little love.
I have a shout out to the new president. Actually.
Oh, nice. Okay. Which is funny because I see your Bernie Sanders meme on your notes.
He's not happy right now. Okay,
Bernie
leave him alone.
There have been so many good memes about Bernie giving the 2 bands versus the 4 bands or whatever. Anyways.
Oh, I didn't see that one. It's gotten. I haven't seen something get the meme this hard in a long time. They really meme the shit out of this Bernie. The Bernie. Like I haven't seen something get that memeified in a while. You've been memeified.
Which is interesting though, because I saw a post online, I think on Reddit, where someone said the thing they are sad about Trump leaving is he was easily the most memeable president.
Yeah, I don't like those memes though.
Which is right.
They're not as fun to me. This is fun.
I really like the Joe Biden Obama memes. Those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, like
those are hilarious. The Obama,
those were good.
They're more wholesome. You know? The Trump ones, it's more just making fun of him because he's such a doof.
Yeah, like it's usually like some sort of terrible face he's making or something.
Right.
This is fun.
Right.
By this, I'm pointing to
Bernie
the Bernie
just
one.
sitting there.
Anyway, I wanted to give a shout out to President Biden. I guess it's so crazy though. That anyway, because I think I don't want to say. I think he signed an executive order to change the term from alien to a non-citizen.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
I don't like the term alien because now first of all at this point it's just been turned into a pejorative term, you know. And
them illegal aliens are coming over here into my country, taking my jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And we need to sometimes the borders are stupid too.
Words matter.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like such a simple statement, but I think a lot of people really miss the message there. I think that is good. He's signed a lot of executive orders. I think stopped, nixed the key lime. I'm getting hungry here. Keystone Pipeline.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that was another one.
Rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement, which was hilarious when Ted Cruz tweeted out like, "Oh, President Biden, you only care about Parisians and not people from Pittsburgh," when it's like
Parisians.
Right.
Did he say that?
No, he didn't. Of course not. That's probably not in his lexicon. Let's be honest.
Paris people.
But he said the citizens of Pittsburgh. He was comparing it to like you're backing out on the citizens of Pittsburgh and it's just ridiculous. But that's awesome. I do have one other shout out here. We're a couple days late, or maybe a week or so late on this now when this episode drops. But the country queen, the I would even say the queen of kindness in a lot of ways.
Wow.
Dolly Parton, she recently celebrated her 75th birthday, and I call her the queen of kindness for a reason, Jared. She's mentioned that her birthday wish is a call for kindness. And look, some people may be listening and maybe thinking you're getting real cheesy
Not
or
me.
or whatever. Never
think that.
Jared. But the thing I like about this, though, Jared, and the reason why I want to talk about this for a second is we've been talking about a lot at my office the concept of pedagogy of kindness, where a lot of students right now are going through a lot because, we're still in the thick of things in the pandemic. It's not over. I think the light is eventually going to be here at the end of that tunnel, but we're not there yet. So we need to still, stay buckled in and, be smart about things and be kind to one another. I think a lot of people now, empathy and kindness can be so important. And I mean, Dolly Parton has just done so many kind acts throughout last year. All the money she donated, she just has such a great track record. So, anyways,
seems like she's fun, like a good time too.
Yep,
She seems like a very nice person.
Yep, exactly. And here's just one little quote from her here. Love is more contagious than a virus, so let your best self shine in a glorious light, and others will be inspired by you. And I'll be honest with you, man. I think she's allowed to say something like that. Like, if I say something like that, come on. Like, it's kind of cheesy. But look, she puts her money where her mouth is.
Yeah.
She really does.
She's got hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
What would you like for your birthday? Oh, I like a PS5.
Right. Give me
a
some
new car.
Give me some Air Jordan Dior's, please. Yeah, it's crazy, but I think it's a great message. I do think it's a great message. And I don't listen to a ton of Dolly Parton music because it's just not my cup of tea, but she is still very talented, incredible woman, and I think she deserves a shout out. So anyways, happy belated to you, Dolly, and thank you for all the good you do for everybody.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Listen, I'm not going to shine on your parade.
Well, Jared,
that's not
rain on your parade. What you should be doing, Jared, is I want you to steal my thunder, but you don't need to rain on my parade.
For someone
How
that
about
does
that?
Untranslatable as much as we do, you think I could get that?
Well, the English ones can be tricky. They're easy to forget. It's like the saying, Jared, sometimes the hardest thing to see is when it's, right in front of your nose or right in front of your face. And that's a little sample untranslatable for all of you. Any of you new listeners out there, untranslatables are idioms, words, phrases, proverbs that don't translate on a smooth one-to-one basis in English. And I want to start us off today, Jared, with a Spanish-speaking untranslatable, and it is de punta en blanco.
Something in white. Punta?
Punta can mean point or also top.
Top.
So on, or tip, on white tip.
So like Punta Cana, the city, is because it's like at the tip on that we're on that strip of Mexico.
Yep, the tip of Cana, I guess.
I see. The tip of the strip, you said?
No. On white tip.
Oh, on white tip, right. You said tip or strip.
Right. I'm not trying to be racist here, Jared.
On white tip. Okay, on white tip. Is that like on the tip of my tongue?
No.
On white tip. The very top of a mountain.
When do you
is what it
usually wear
sounds
white,
like.
Jared?
Weddings is when I usually wear white.
Okay.
To other people's weddings.
Okay, of course.
All white tux.
That's right.
As a guest.
Okay, so weddings, you wear some white.
Yeah. Also,
So are you dressed nicely or are you dressed poorly for a wedding?
Oh, usually if I'm just nicely.
So what would we say in English if
Dressed
you're
to the
dressed
nines.
nicely? There we go.
What does that mean? Dressed to the nines.
I don't really know.
Because
actually.
9, it's not like you're not calling yourself a 9.
Right.
Then you'd say dressed to the 10s.
Right. Dressed to the 11s, if you ever watch Spinal Tap. Yeah, well, the other one, too, is Dressed to Kill.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that also? Why should I be dressed nicely
I thought that was a James Bond reference or something.
Oh, maybe?
I don't
or
know.
a spy reference.
Some sort of, yeah.
Yeah, because they're usually dressed nicely.
But maybe it's before that, but that's how I always associated it was like a James Bond.
Or I wonder, right? Or I wonder if it goes back even further, where people would wear ceremonious robes and such for sacrifices.
So like you're saying the
like you're dressed to kill. Like you're dressed in something really fancy.
The person that would swing the
executioner.
Executioner would wear like flamboyant outfits.
Right.
It's like, ooh, look at that suit the
Right.
executioner's wearing.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. This is not based in science or fact.
Damn, that
we're just
executioner's looking dope.
Right? He's dressed to kill.
Yeah, he's really dressed to kill today. He's like, oh, you like this? You like this? Put the axe over his shoulder. Anyway, my untranslatable is Sinhala, which is a language that, where did I say it was from last episode?
I don't remember, but it has the great
yes, it does
script.
have the great script.
Is it Thailand?
No, it's not.
Indonesia? No.
It might be. I'm not going to say it's not in these places, but this one, from what I've seen is from Sri Lanka.
That's right. Okay.
Angin atayak ganawa wagwe. Like asking for a bone out of one's body.
It's to ask a lot of somebody. Or to ask someone to do something very unpleasant.
It's not as literal as that, but you're in the right area.
In the neighborhood?
It would actually be more like I'd be like, hey Chad, can you help me move? And you'd be like ah man, you know, I don't know if I'll be able to do it. And it's like I'm not asking for a bone out of your body.
So I'm just not asking that much of you. I'm not expecting that much.
I guess that's fair. It's hard for me to explain this because the meaning is when a person is extremely reluctant to do a favor.
I see. Yeah, that's a hard one to explain. Okay, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. What was it again?
Like asking for a bone out of one's body.
Okay. That's an interesting
Oh, maybe
one.
I should say like getting Chad to do anything is like asking for a bone out of one's body. You know, he's very reluctant to do so. This is all just examples.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I didn't.
I'm so shocked and hurt, Jared. I quit.
I don't want you to
just see me storm out. That would be funny. Have to make sure you really stomp your feet so the microphone will pick it up. Anyways, my next one for you is Spanish, or I guess my first one, right? I haven't given, or no, I did give you one. I did give you one. This is quedarse de piedra.
Something about your feet?
Stay like a stone.
Oh, damn it. I thought piedra would be feet or something.
Nope.
Stay like a stone? Does that just mean to hide? Be very still?
No. Why? What would be another reason why you might stay like a stone?
Because you're lazy? Someone that's lazy?
Any other reasons why you might stay like a stone?
Stay like a stone.
Usually you're not like a stone and then all of a sudden you stay like a stone.
Oh, because you're frightened.
Or you could also be...
surprised.
There we go.
To stay like a stone is to be so... Oh,
well, surprised or actually to be stunned.
So I was like...
Right.
I gotcha. Okay, to stay like a stone.
Right. And
this has a great ring to it in English, too.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, well, we would say to be stunned.
Well, yeah, to stay like a stone.
That's right.
I can imagine...
Ooh, that could be a good new untranslatable.
I can imagine some Southerners saying that.
Right.
Any great untranslatable, I imagine Southerners saying.
Oh, for sure. Here's a good example of that, Jared. Watch out, boy. If you going to be pissing on gator piss, you going to make me stay like a stone.
Flipping on gator piss.
That's right. And here, this is another kind of... Let me give you a bonus one that's kind of related to this, Jared, a little offshoot. Quedarse con la boca abierta, which means to stay with an open mouth. So we would say jaw dropped.
Okay,
you know, my jaw dropped when I saw that. You know, saw that Hellcat, and my jaw dropped.
Oh yeah. By the way, we need to re-examine our plans. That
our Raptor was way too out of our price range for the miles we were trying to go.
Yeah, we were trying to go very far, and it had a very small mileage range. So that idea got squashed. So we're it's still happening. Though.
It's in the works, people.
Something's still happening. Yeah. We're making it happen. My next untranslatable is Dutch, and it's Ik zal ze in pupil laten rukken.
Can you say that one more time?
Ik zal ze in poopy laten rukken. Sorry, I enjoyed saying poopy. Poopy laten rukken.
And it means?
I shall let them smell a poopy. Listen, I personally wouldn't use the phrase poopy, but that's what they said, so I stuck with it.
Is it?
I shall let them smell a poopy.
Is it to give someone a taste of their own medicine? It's been a while since I've got one. All right, that feels good.
It's like I'll show them.
Okay.
But that's still right.
Make
You
them
still got it. Same
was it
concept.
smell the poopy?
They say I shall. Like I'll let them. I'll let them smell the poopy.
I shall let
Yeah.
them smell the poopy.
Yeah.
All right. I could see how you could like very defiantly say that. At the end.
It's hard to say poopy and be like in a badass way.
Right. Well, you'd have to change it to like shit.
Yeah. Oh, that's
to-
true. That's true.
Like, I'll let them smell that shit.
That's
You'd have to. you'd have to say it like that. You could. Yeah.
That's true. You can
I'll let them
modify it
smell
like-
poopy,
Yeah. Poopy's a little.
Right.
It's like a childish a little bit.
Exactly.
Can't be afraid of poopy.
Let me give you another Spanish one, Jared. It is no hay color.
Does that anything have to do with color?
There is no color.
There is no color.
Hey, whoa! I don't see color, Jared. There's no color. No, that's not what this one means. Also, F you to people who say that. That's so ridiculous. I don't see color.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, by the way, in my life.
It's mostly white people.
Yeah, and
who say
it's so
that,
funny
yeah.
too because it's almost like a compliment,
Right. It's a backhanded compliment.
Right.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
really, if you say, I don't see... When
Yeah.
I hear that phrase, I don't see color. Sorry, this is a complete tangent here. But I think it's worth mentioning. When I hear that phrase, I think of someone saying that, like... On the one hand, I see how some people assume it means like, oh, the color doesn't matter.
Sure.
But I also think some people view it as, well, then you're not even recognizing me for who I am.
Right, you're like stripping them of their identity
Right.
a little bit.
Right.
It's like, we're.
Because
It's
like, I identify as a white man. Like,
Yeah.
that's just who I am. And that's-
Exactly.
For me to say I don't see color, it's kind
And
of
also when you
ridiculous.
say that, it's also kind of like disregarding all the issues that a certain group
Right.
like goes
Exactly.
through. It's like
Right.
It's like, oh, we're all the
Don't worry,
same.
yeah,
I don't
we're-
see any
yeah.
difference. It's
Right.
like, yeah, but the cops do, or the legal system does, or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So it's just a very simple, like a sort of
Exactly.
like ignoring the reality.
Exactly. Anyways, no hay color. There is no color.
There is no color. That also kind of sounds like being shocked. There's no color in my face.
No,
Dumbfounded.
I would say this one is not like that.
There is no color.
It's like it.
Indifferent.
No, it's honestly a good example. I would say is like there's no color for our car knowledge, like yours versus mine.
Oh, there's like no comparison.
There we go.
I see.
Yep.
I see. Okay.
We would say it's like apples to oranges.
Oh, apples to oranges.
It's like apples to oranges would be like the closest thing in English.
I see.
Yeah, so yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting one. Like, there's no color.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like you just can't even because if there were a color, you can compare it. You can make a comparison with
Sure.
something. Whereas if there's no color, you have nothing
Oh,
to
I
compare
see.
it
I
with.
see. Sure.
Or
Yeah,
compare
yeah.
it to.
I see.
So yeah, I have to say, man, I found this website, this Baselang blog, and they have so many cool Spanish idioms. Like, you can just
Isn't that great? Every now and again, I actually found a big site the other day, and I said more. I have it linked right there.
yes, nice.
It is always good to be like, oh, jackpot.
Right? Because we've been doing this for a while. I'm honestly, I don't think it will ever be possible for us to do all the untranslatables in the world. I
Oh,
don't think it's
sure, it won't be possible to do, but it might be hard to. I've been saying this for like a year at this point, but I'm getting nervous about it's getting harder and harder to find them. My thing is that as you notice, try to find languages that I
Right.
haven't heard of,
like the
Sinhala.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have any other untranslatables for us today,
No,
Jared?
those are my last ones.
All right, let me give you one more Spanish one, just because there's so many good ones on this website here. I want to find one that's good enough that some of these, because I think Spanish and English do have a lot of similarities. Some of them, they're too straightforward. Like, for an untranslatable expert such as yourself,
All
it's
right.
not even
Well, save this for later.
Got one.
Let's talk. Okay,
Got
okay.
one. Give you
I wanna talk
one
about
more.
houses and stuff.
Give you one more, because this is kind of related to. Anyways, let me just give you this one. Estar hasta en la sopa.
To be something.
To be even in the soup.
To be even in the soup. Mm-hmm. Is that like to break even? That's what it sounds like to me. To be even in the soup.
To be even in the soup. Yeah.
I don't understand that.
How do you explain it? Yeah, to be even in the soup. Well, here the
Cool, calm, and collected is also kind of what it seems like to me.
Well, here let me give you the meaning, and maybe you can figure out there's an English one that's related. So they say here, and This is kind of a bad one. Let me just
See,
explain.
we
this
could have
one, I
just
guess.
gone
Yeah,
on.
we should have.
We can
That's
just move
my
on.
bad.
Just tell me what it is, and we can move on.
Okay, well, so this is the weird thing. So the meaning it says is to find the same person anywhere and everywhere you go. However, they say the English equivalent of this one. Oh no, sorry, never mind. Well, this is just weird. They say the counterpart is to be here, there, and everywhere, which I don't think is the same. Anyway, so let's just move on. Let's talk about houses, Jared. That's my bad. Let's move on to houses. What are some things you want to talk about related to houses today? You've been house hunting. I'm sure you've learned a lot throughout the process here. Why are you even looking at a house? I guess maybe we should start at.
I think the thing that's been the most interesting to me, just as far as a learning process goes, obviously I've been learning over time what I'm interested in a house. I don't want to get into the
nitty-gritty details.
Specifics of what details I'm interested in my
Right.
house. But I will tell you this, what I have been enjoying is learning about the different styles of home.
Okay.
And so
Like you got a Tudor-style house,
yes, you have the bungalow-style house.
Ranch. I like ranches myself.
Yeah.
Also like ranch dressing.
Colonial is another one.
Right.
And so I
Victorian
actually,
is another style, right?
it sounds
think
like
it has
sounds like one.
The beams.
I have
or
actually a
something.
big ass list of styles
Nice,
of home.
okay.
Because I actually in this I've been trying to figure out what is like. I think I'm really into the Detroit Tudors. That we have a lot
They're
of Tudors
cool.
in Detroit.
Yeah, I like them too.
And I never even knew what those were called until now, and I
Tudor.
like them. I like them. So let's see if you've heard of any of these.
I think we need
houses.
to maybe make this a new segment of the podcast. It just came so organically, Jared. The untranslatable big ass list.
The big.
Because you were just like, I got a big ass list of different types of houses. I think that's hilarious.
All right, let's go to this. Let's do the untranslatable big ass list segment. The modern house.
Okay.
It's a little ridiculous. The modern house to me, like I'm not gonna say I hate a modern house.
Can you describe what you're
It's a little
seeing to our
cold.
listeners?
It's built on the side of a hill, and it's got a lot of. It's very geometric and white and gray, and it's got a lot of
Different shapes, as you said,
shapes,
very geometric,
built off
right?
of each other, and it's big. But it looks very cold. It kind of looks like the interior. I imagine the interior looks like you've seen the picture of Kanye's house,
Right.
Or it's just a bare white interior,
Right.
And it's like this is terrifying. Or this is a smaller version of it, but
And
even
it's just
still,
square or
Yeah.
rectangular.
The townhouse, not a fan of it. I'm not
Okay.
a huge fan of the townhouse. Where
Why is that, good sir?
just because it's almost like you're living in an apartment at that point. You know?
You're right. You're right.
But I guess it depends on where you're at. Where do you when you think townhouse? Where do you think? Because I think like city. I think like,
right. I was thinking Detroit.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a couple townhouses I
I
saw
think New
in
York,
Detroit.
maybe Philadelphia, but even then it would still probably
Chicago.
be
I
kinda
think
pricey.
they also have
yeah,
some
probably.
too. I think.
The ranch house.
Yep. This is what I like. I like
This is
the
the style
ranches.
you like.
Well, maybe not that exact house,
I
but
know, I don't know.
but I like. I don't know. There's something nice about
Interesting.
having everything on one floor, and then like my buddy in high school had a really cool ranch where they had really spacious basement as well.
See, a lot of the ranches I see are like plain white.
Okay.
So the ranch to me really depends on how it's like finished on the outside.
Okay. Yeah, but
because,
you can repaint a ranch.
But I
probably
mean
pretty
just painting
quick,
because
right?
I like.
Do you mean like the siding and stuff as well?
I don't know. It's just like it just. I don't know. The shape just seems so basic to me. You know.
I think that's the beauty. That's why I like them.
Okay,
I think because
you're
they are
You're
simple.
basic.
Right.
The ranch house first appeared on the U.S. real estate landscape in the 1930s, driven by homeowners' desires to own affordable, easy-to-care-for homes
See, right
designed
there.
for casual living. Would you like to live casually?
I'm a casual kind of
All
guy,
right.
Jared.
All
Let's
right,
keep
well,
it
I get it.
casual.
The Victorian, as you said.
See? Yep,
this
I
is
was right.
Victorian. I didn't doubt you. This looks like a slave house, by the way.
There's I think the slave houses are actually, they look different. The plantation houses look different. I would argue that does not look like a plantation
The only
house.
reason I say it looks like a... You're right. The only reason I say it looks like that
Well,
is
'cause of the porch
The
and 'cause of
wraparound
the-
porch
yep.
is a very
Yep.
popular
Yep.
plantation house.
Sitting out there with my sweet tea.
You need to be able to see the slaves at every corner. So you got to have the wraparound porch
Right.
with my sweet
Oh,
tea.
Jesus. Anyways, but the crazy thing is there's actually this really cool Victorian house not too far from here, Jared. And it's just like in the middle of nowhere. It's
That's
so
bad.
weird. You drive by and it has the big...
Where would
like-
you see a house like this traditionally? Where would you think of seeing a house like this?
Well, were they built
'Cause
in
it
the
doesn't-
20s?
This
What-
doesn't seem like a British... This seems way too big.
Right.
to be like something you'd see in England. Or
I mean, this
something.
is something you would see. Well, you might see these in wealthy areas, like in the East Coast in the U.S. Maybe.
yes.
You know, you see them around here in Michigan in certain spots
I could see
too.
this being like a Massachusetts style
Yep.
home, or like
Yep.
or
and
like
it's older. It'd be an older built house.
Yeah, I could see that, or like the rich, like the rich area, like in Westchester outside of New York.
There's 2 or
city
3
or
in
something
Ann Arbor
like that.
for sure. Probably more than that.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
I've definitely seen some.
There's some
couple of the co-ops.
And there's some
are
of them.
Victorian houses,
There's some of
too.
them in Ann Arbor are kind of deceiving because they are like within the city, and some of them are also used as like as you said, they're co-ops. So some of them are also used
Right.
for like businesses. You're right. I have seen that.
Yep.
The cottage. This looks like some Hansel and Gretel shit.
Right, or even
This
like
doesn't
some
even look
Lord
real.
of the Ringsy
Yeah,
type thing
yeah,
too.
like
I
an
get
elf
that
lives
vibe.
there.
Right. Actually,
like
Jared, it'd be a dwarf.
A
Excuse
dwarf,
me. No,
excuse
just
me.
kidding. I'm just joking.
Is it? Oh, but is that what it is? A dwarf?
Well, there are elves. There's dwarves.
Oh, there's a bunch.
They're different
Okay.
types of characters.
So it's an English cottage. You
Right.
don't really actually. I've seen.
No, I've seen some of those. You see
Yeah.
those around a little
Yeah.
bit.
The apartment house.
Apartment house. What is that?
Well, you can buy apartments.
Right. So
Well,
just
what's-
buying an apartment?
Yeah, I guess
Is that all
so.
that means?
I guess so,
Okay.
probably.
I will say this, though. With an apartment, I think the allure for apartments for a lot of people is that they may be, if you don't have any pets or like a big family.
Yeah.
I think apartments
I mean,
are
it's
great,
great
for
for a
single
city.
people. Yeah, if you're living in the city.
I just feel like I don't know why, but the idea of still having to deal with like neighbors. Granted, you still have to deal with neighbors even in a house, but like the possibility that you can hear noise bleeding
Right.
through.
Hearing your neighbors bumping uglies at midnight or
Exactly,
something on a
exactly.
Friday, sure.
But I mean, I can see the appeal if you live in a city. You know, if you live in Chicago or something like that, and it's
Right.
like I'm single and I don't really have an interest in just living by myself out in the
Right.
middle of the suburbs in a big ass house.
Right. And you got to worry about the commute if you work in the
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of these things I think really influence why a lot of different countries and cultures have houses or they don't. One of
Sure.
my favorite housing situations I saw while abroad, just real quick, and then we can get back to our big ass list here, is I love seeing the gurs in Mongolia, which are we would call them a yurt, but that's actually I think the Russian
Yes.
word.
I don't think. I don't think they like the word yurt. I heard.
Right. Well, we would hear them say "gur." That's just what they called
Okay.
it. So that's what I started to call it. But yeah, it's just this crazy big. You know, some of them can be big, but it's like a circular, basically like insulated tent, more than just a tent. But they're really something. I was inside a couple.
Are there
of them.
different rooms?
Usually, no. Usually, it's just one big open thing. So obviously, as you can imagine, if you got
And I mean, I imagine the structure is pretty well insulated.
Yeah,
it has
yeah.
to be.
It's
because
warm.
Mongolia
Well, and
is
there's a fire.
freezing, isn't
Usually,
it?
I think the fire is in the middle of it, if I remember correctly.
The way it's set
or
up,
towards the back.
okay.
Yeah, and some of the hot air obviously goes out of it.
So
but
are these able to be? Oh yeah, they're
you
used
can
for
live in them
nomads.
year round. Yeah,
But they're nomads, as you can see. So
Yeah, you can
so
pack 'em
like,
up and build
You
'em.
could travel with these.
which is crazy to think about, and it's so cool to see
You've been
these
in one
up
of
close.
these?
Yeah, I've been inside a couple of them.
This is cool.
I was in Ulaanbaatar. Yeah, I would love to go back to Mongolia. At
This
some
one
point,
doesn't
man.
look like one you could move.
Well, you have to build them.
Sure,
You know, so I mean, I don't
but
think
this
it's
one looks pretty complex.
right.
Is what I'm saying.
Well, right. It's not like a tent in that you can just pack it up, take it with you.
Sure.
You know,
Like it takes time. I'm
Right.
not saying it's not like
Right.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who was an English teacher who actually lived in one of those. He was actually in Mongolia, I think, in the 80s or 90s for the Peace Corps, and so he lived in one of these, which would be really interesting.
How does that work?
I mean, he told me the key was you wanted to always make sure, especially in the winter, the fire was
Did
always
he live by
on.
himself?
Yeah. He had his own
Wow.
gur, which would be a really interesting housing situation.
I mean, it would be cool to experience, but that
Right.
seems terrifying.
I think
How do you get food?
used
How
to
did he
it.
get his food?
Well, that's good. I don't know.
I mean, he's not hunting. They don't expect him to hunt for food.
Well,
do
no.
they?
Well, he was in. I'm pretty sure he was in Ulan. No, he wasn't in Ulaanbaatar. He was in a town in Mongolia somewhere. So I'm sure there was a grocery store or something within walking distance. It's not like he was in some field in the middle of nowhere in Mongolia. Anyways, let's get back
to the big.
So we got the mansion,
The
not the
mansion.
McMansion, but that kind of looks looks
that's
nicer than a McMansion.
It looks a little bit more old school, almost
Right.
like the Fresh Prince Mansion, except for there's brick instead of just all sort of the white.
Right.
But it is sort of leaning towards McMansion. But the mansion is such a generic term for just big ass house, essentially.
Right.
The colonial.
Which, by the way, the mansion and the big ass house. One point I wanted to mention. I think that's another reason why houses are so popular in the States. Is it's a clear display of wealth and status.
Yeah,
If
sure.
you really think about it.
Sure.
I mean, you know,
And people also sometimes with these mansions try to make it seem like and well, I'm sure it is sometimes like an artistic thing.
sure.
You know, like I was really into this styling of
Right.
and this is why I chose this brick.
Right. You're going to hear me in 5 years, Jared, talking like that about my ranch probably one day or something. Who knows?
I like the one story because it's easy to vacuum.
That's right.
The Colonial, which is like this is like this is like almost like when I think of like the Ferris Bueller's Day Off house or something like that.
Yeah. Kind of your upper middle class suburban
suburb house, like
Yeah.
maybe like the suburbs of like West Bloomfield.
What
or
do you think
something
one of
like
those
that.
runs for? Probably 200,000-300,000.
Where?
Michigan, I guess.
So if if you're in like Bloomfield Hills or something like that, or maybe Birmingham. If it's in Birmingham,
Behams.
that would probably be like $2 million.
2 million.
Dude, this house is huge. Look how far back it
okay.
goes.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that went that far back.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a pretty. Also, this is just a rendering of a house.
Right.
This is not even a real house.
Right.
But yeah, I mean that's a pretty big house.
Colonial. Okay.
And look at all these rooms.
That's true. You're right. That's
Where's
true.
the garage also on this thing? That's weird.
Right. Couple car garage.
The
at least for
bungalow,
that
which
bad
is
boy.
also very common around
It's a smaller
here.
house, right?
Yeah, I think the house that I live in is technically a bungalow.
Okay.
And it's usually although I thought bungalows usually don't have an upstairs, but this one does. But it's kind of like there's nothing really like. I don't
Nothing
know.
too fancy.
Yeah, nothing too fancy about it. The farmhouse. Now,
Farmhouses are kind of cool.
there's a couple around here.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that looks straight up like a farm that I drove past, and I almost
Might be a farm.
swerved off the road trying to figure out if it was a farm or a home.
Right.
But if I look at a farmhouse, what you know what I think of? I think of
Horror movies.
no, I'm thinking like locations where it's really popular. The idea of a farmhouse, like Wales or Scotland,
Oh, yeah.
like out
yeah.
in the countryside.
Or what's that movie with
Or England,
with
too.
Gerard Butler? I think it's Gerard Butler.
And
he
he's
needs-
done a lot of movies.
and he
300.
Yes, because there's definitely a farmhouse in 300.
The movie where he kills everyone
No,
because
he's
his family dies.
No, it's a rom com.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Well, I think she stays at a farmhouse in his village in
Okay.
Ireland or whatever. That's
Yeah.
why Anyways, I think the cool thing about those farmhouses, the brick farmhouses, look really cool.
And there's a lot of open space.
Yep.
But I feel like it seems like a lot of upkeep.
As a guitar player, though, a farmhouse would be kind of cool to have,
Why is that?
just for jam sessions.
Oh,
Just
okay. A lot of
you
big
know,
rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does seem like a lot of upkeep.
Yeah.
And a lot of them seem old.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and so it does seem a little concerning upkeep wise.
For sure.
But I do like the aesthetic. Mm-hmm. And I the manor.
The manor. Okay.
Now this is some Wayne Manor.
Now we're getting into the almost the estate level.
What's
we're
the
almost
difference
past
between
the house.
a mansion and a manor? I'll say this: manor seems classier right off the bat.
Well, first of all, mansions are probably American and manors are British. No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not
Manor
sure about
homes
that.
come with impressive pedigrees and lineage. So,
Oh, okay.
manors that also makes sense. Manors are old.
They're old, and I think a lot of manors.
Any asshole can build a mansion,
Right.
But a
Manors
manor,
are old.
Someone passes
Yep.
down to you.
Yep. And I think with manors, there's also a level of there's probably some type of garden or some type of
moat?
like outside aesthetic to it. Whereas a
Oh,
mansion,
yes.
when I think of a mansion, I just think of a big ass.
It could be it could be
huge ass
anywhere. It could be a
house.
normal neighborhood.
Right, and it could, exactly. You could have a neighborhood filled with mansions that just have a normal ass lawn.
Yeah.
Whereas when I think of a manor, you have some exquisite gardens and shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Like those statues with the water blowing
Right.
out of the
Right.
blowing out of the mouth.
Right.
Perfectly manicured.
And some like
lawns.
shrubs and some
Yeah.
like.
Oh, you know where I could also see a manor once again? Like East Coast I think has
Oh,
a very
yeah.
similar vibe
Yeah.
to like
Rockefeller Manor, is that a thing?
like I don't know.
has a nice ring to it.
Has a very similar vibe to like
Right.
like old England kind of vibes.
So
I
here's
could
the
imagine
thing.
like a manor in like Massachusetts or something like that,
Here's
or
the
New
thing.
York.
If you get to serious baller status,
Mm-hmm.
could you build your own manor, make it look old school,
you can't now.
and then give it to your children, and then eventually it becomes a manor, or is that just not
You'd
allowed?
have to do some impressive shit that
Okay.
that
like Gates Manor for Bill Gates, or Musk Manor for
No.
Elon Musk. You don't think it could ever be a
No.
thing?
No, because they don't have any lineage. They're just one. Well, I guess I don't know.
But if they hand it down, and then like in like 2 or 3 generations,
yeah, but I think but when I think I hear
my
you.
great grandpapa William Gates.
These,
I don't know why they're British now, but
I feel like this British people in general care a lot more about the idea of family lineage and like I don't think
the
that's
titles.
I don't think that's as like big in our culture.
You're right.
Like I feel like people like this shit's old.
Right.
I can get this mansion over here. It's got a nest,
surround sound.
It's got a
jacuzzi,
movie theater,
a tennis court. I don't even like tennis.
I'm not mowing all those fancy lawns. The neoclassical house. I've never seen something like
in
this.
some ways kind of gives me a little bit slave ownerish plantation-ish vibes. I think it's because of the pillars.
The pillars, and the upstairs balcony also.
Looking down upon them. And
I'm actually thinking of Django.
Yep.
When they pull up to and then some of the slaves are up above on the balcony.
Right.
Yeah, and this also kind of looks like a college
southern
building too.
Right.
Like a southern
or a
college
frat house.
Frat house too, or a sorority, sure, for sure. The Spanish style house.
Those are kind of cool. Those are more
cool.
out in Cali, aren't they?
That's like a Arizona, Cali, like a West Coast kind of thing. I'm a big fan of the Spanish style house. I like that vibe. The penthouse, which is the top floor of an apartment.
I feel like the penthouse is a lot of like when you think of like wealthy.
That can't be your only place.
Well, no, it's not usually. I think for a lot of these people, but the penthouse, I feel like that's like when you hit the upper echelon and you want to live in a nice city, you go with the penthouse.
Sure,
you're a big baller in New York. You got a penthouse.
You get the wraparound balcony,
right?
Yeah, so maybe even the swimming pool,
the infinity pool or whatever it's called when you
it's the infinity pool.
Yep.
You're right. Yeah.
Yep.
And but that's the thing is if you're really you can't just have a penthouse,
right?
Because that seems like obviously investment wise it probably makes sense, but it's just like you gotta the Greek revival. Now we're getting a little slavey too. You know what actually this reminds me of?
What?
I went to the middle of nowhere in France to like wine country area with my parents. When I was a kid and we lived in Germany, and we stayed at a bed and breakfast that kind of had the style like this.
Okay.
And there were houses around that kind of had this Greek revival style.
It's funny. There's actually a house in Red Dead Redemption. I think it might even be a plantation that looks almost just like that house.
The French Provençal just looks kind of like a gaudy mansion, to be honest. Provençal. It kind of looks like a gaudy mansion, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of that one.
It's a little too much.
Right.
I don't know. It just seems almost kind of McMansion-y, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's this. I wonder if this is like the European equivalent of a McMansion.
They say as 17th century French commoners admired manor. Okay, who wrote this? Those commoners probably hated them.
Right.
Owned by the nationals, the nation's elites, architects were inspired to design affordable residence meant to be just as stylish and fancy, but without those. Oh, that's exactly what it is. Okay. So it kind of is like the knockoff
European
mansion.
McMansion, yeah.
Okay. That's exactly
funny.
what it is.
That's really funny.
The Craftsman House. I like this style.
I do like this
also,
style too.
You see these around
some
Michigan.
Open air little patio, right?
Yeah, but this also gives me like a West Coast vibe too.
For sure. It has some like lighter blue or some like more. Brighter colors on it. Oh, for sure, you could get a very California
and it also
type
seems
vibe.
like it also seems like this house, and I bet it seems like this seems like a house that in California would probably cost like $2 million,
probably,
and like
it's
San
not even
Diego
that
or something.
big of a house either,
and your neighbors are pretty close next to you, and you have a pretty small garage, but it's a good sized house.
What are your thoughts on those houses I've seen, like especially back in the day when MTV Cribs was so huge? What are your thoughts on like those houses where a large section of it's like just basically open air, like they have a roof over it?
I like that.
It's kind of cool, isn't it?
You can get that. My parents have something like that. They don't have a mansion by any means. They have a rather normal sized house, but they have like a
French Provençal.
They have like a back porch area, and part of it is covered with like ceiling fans.
Love the porch. The porch is such a great add to a house or anything like that.
And that's why I think of the West Coast, because that's when you really get the use out of it. Obviously, you can use it here in Michigan, but you can get the full
really
year
only
use
for
out of
a couple months here.
The Prairie House. I don't think this is a
interesting.
good example of a prairie house. To be honest with you, let's move on because that's
Let's
really
move
something.
on. Move on.
Tudor. which
I
is
like
very
Tudors.
popular around
Yep.
here in the Detroit area.
I like the like. Is that called the buttresses? Is that what that thing's
I think
called?
so. I believe
It's been
so.
a while since I've
Very
had
good.
an architecture class. Do you remember we had that? We learned a lot of random. I don't remember the terms anymore, unfortunately, but we learned so many random German terms because of our Geschichte in Wien
for, like, architecture
our
pieces?
history in Vienna class. Yeah, well, because remember we would go and see these enormous buildings.
Oh
and
yeah, I
stuff.
remember. Yeah.
Which is
I
funny
remember
because
that.
speaking of like what's in mode for people at the time, back in the turn of the century in Vienna, a big one, if you remember, was the palais.
Mm-hmm.
And our where we studied abroad, it was technically in one of these palais. We literally would go up marble stairs with a damn red carpet into our classes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
It was a palais. It was fancy.
Yeah, but it was crazy because it didn't seem.
Well, it just built into a side street into right downtown.
That's the thing.
weird
It was
thing.
also. It was not even. It was off a main street. Like,
Yep.
and it was built into a wall. You wouldn't even notice it was there
right.
if you were just walking down the street.
And the way you know it's a palais really is once you're inside. It's really the interior
That
because
was
it's in a
actually-
city.
Right. That was actually really a weird sort of
Great place to study abroad, but yeah, kind of weird.
It was a weird sort of structure that I've never experienced before. That sort of as you said, a palais. Is that what a city palace is? A palais?
I guess maybe.
Because it looked full on like a palace on the inside, but it was built into a wall like an
Right.
apartment building, and you would
Right.
never notice.
well, because they
that it
just
was,
they just didn't have the.
essentially a palace inside of that. Random
Once again, it
building
comes
you
down
walk
to
by.
not having the space, Jared. Once
Yeah.
again, you can't build these crazy lavish buildings if you don't have the space.
The Tudor, anyway. I like it, and it also gives me
cool.
It gives me hard England vibes too.
Actually, that gives me the facades of it. That actually looks kind of like Fachwerkhäuser, which is a really famous German type of architecture, actually.
Interesting.
Which looks pretty cool.
What do you know about architecture?
I know some random bits.
You're
and
starting to
pieces.
you're pulling out some random
Am
terms
I?
and stuff.
Good.
Where I'm like, what is this? The single family home.
I
That's
kind of
just
like those. It's your standard, though.
Sure.
I mean, that's once again your.
but the single family home like this that they're saying tends to be like the cookie cutter neighborhood
Right.
home.
You got your
too.
garage that's attached. You got your probably your living room, your kitchen, your dining room right there. Then you
Yeah.
got your upstairs. Here it looks like you might have one or two rooms.
There was
maybe.
a house I saw around here that I like that. And what I like about the garage being like
Attached?
a room being on top of the garage is, and some of them the whole top floor was just the master bedroom.
Right.
And I like that vibe too.
That can be nice for sure. What is this? Oh, condo.
condo.
Sorry, the
just-
outside of the condo it looked like almost like a government building or
a chalet. This is like if you live in the mountains in Switzerland or
Right.
something.
I like it's
Or in
interesting.
Colorado or
It's
something
interesting
like
in
that.
English we call it a chalet, and in Czech they actually call it a chata, but it's spelled chata. It's not that far off from the word chalet.
Interesting.
That's yeah.
I wonder if it's just
I wonder
their
if they're
take on the
related.
same word.
I wonder, or similar words. Right.
The chalet seems like a fun idea, but it just seems like a lot of upkeep, and it also seems like dangerous weather-wise. Like I feel like there's a lot of chances for. Maybe that's just because I remember one time going through Colorado, and there was just this like mountain area that I was driving through, and there was just a bunch of houses that had been condemned because they had, I believe, some sort of mudslide or something,
Right.
or some sort of flood or some sort of. Natural disaster,
right.
That almost seemed inevitable for the type of area that you're living
Okay.
in, and in like the mountains like that.
So I will say this though, I was fortunate enough to take a trip in the Czech Republic through all these beautiful mountain villages when I went to Bohemian Switzerland or Czech Switzerland, and there were a ton of these chalets or little like mountain cottages. I tell you what, man, if I like lived in the Czech Republic full time,
that would be cool.
I would for sure get one of those.
That would be cool.
For like a weekend getaway type of place, and I don't
I
think
think
they're
even
that
get one as
expensive.
in like that's where you would live.
Probably not, because it'd be very difficult commute wise.
anywhere.
I think. Right.
The tiny home.
Those are interesting, but I think it's more of
the
a
tiny home is just a pipe dream in America.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they're doing it in other places, but no one. I feel like no one's really doing it here, and it's like it's not as easy as it seems
Right.
because it is essentially a trailer.
right. Well, I think bang for your buck. I think tiny homes aren't worth it.
Yeah,
they're
sure.
not that cheap, really.
That's
I think
true.
a lot of people want to do the tiny home because they're quote unquote affordable, and sure
I mean,
you save money.
especially in our area or Detroit
Right.
area.
Right. And I'm sure you save money on certain things, right? But at the same time, like if you really need to live a very, very
Also, if it is one of the ones
lifestyle.
like this that's on a trailer, then you're gonna, and it's not like a home that's connected to the ground. You're gonna have to deal with the waste, the gray water as they call it, and you're gonna have to deal, and it's just gonna be like it's a more of an upkeep than a home that is essentially self-sufficient.
Right. Yeah, this is not what I would want to go with.
No,
for sure.
A treehouse.
Looks cool, but I mean that's more like a thing for kids. I've always viewed it like
This
a
is
treehouse.
a legit treehouse.
I mean, I
though.
see that. I mean, yeah.
And then the container home.
Container homes are interesting. The thing I like about this is I just think it's fascinating to see what people can build out of other materials.
Remember, did you watch the IKEA happiness thing or what?
Yeah.
Remember, some of the dorms were like were a container, like, and there were, and even there were 2 stories where there was like,
Right.
a container on top of another container.
Right. I'll be honest with you, man. It doesn't take too much to please me. If I had a 2-story container home,
This
I
one
think
is
I could
kind of
live
small
happy in it.
specifically
Right.
that we're looking at, but like a standard sort of shipping container, 2 of them on top of each other, that's a good amount of space.
Yeah. I mean, basically all I really want in my house, Jared, is
But where would you be? Visually, where would you be? Because you can't move it. It's got to be put down somewhere.
I'd be probably somewhere more out in the country.
Okay.
I'd like to be like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 miles from the city.
That's an eyesore, though. I mean, no one would see it.
Well, I don't
guess.
get it. I'm getting it to live in, not to.
So you would be okay being in the middle of nowhere with that tiny amount of space.
Well, if you're in the middle of nowhere, you probably have some acreage.
Sure.
So,
but I mean, tiny amount of space as far as living space.
Well, I wouldn't want a small, teeny tiny one like that one, but yeah,
Sure.
2-story one. I mean, all I need, man, is a kitchen, living room, all that stuff.
That's true.
A music
That's
room
true.
and a gym, and that's it, man.
No, that's true.
If I had a family and kids, obviously I would not want to live in a place like that. But right now, dude, I can live wherever I want in terms of that kind of thing.
That's true.
But
when I think of the container, I do also I think of that Denmark happiness retreat.
Right. And
The boat,
it's
the
simple.
houseboat. Where do you think of when you
nope.
think of the houseboat?
Well, a couple. I think of Amsterdam.
For sure, that's my
Amsterdam,
first
but
place
also
that comes to
down
mind for
south,
me.
right in the bayou and those types of areas. Don't
Do
they
they
also
really
have
live
some?
on? I mean, that's what
Or maybe not.
That's what this picture looks like.
Right.
I think of maybe like places where there's like a coast. So whether it be the East Coast or West Coast, where you could have like marinas, areas
Okay.
where there are marinas essentially.
I don't know if I could live on a houseboat.
I can't either.
Just the idea of always
Seems
having
like
water around me creeps me out a little bit.
It seems once again like a lot of upkeep. Yeah, it's like I don't want to sleep on the water. I would like to sleep on solid ground.
Give me some
Call
land.
me crazy.
Yeah. We're landlubbers, Jared. That's just what
the
it is.
Rambler. I don't even
a
know what
Rambler.
this
I've
is.
never even heard of that.
A duplex.
Yeah, I mean
Duplexes were quite common in Germany, at least Germany, but I'm sure a lot of Europe.
Right.
Duplexes are common.
One of my kind of the most
I lived in a
interesting
duplex in Germany.
Oh, nice. One of the actually, I think my relatives live in either a duplex or a triplex, or well, I think theirs is more like a townhome kind of thing. But
You
anyways,
kind of lived in one in Austria, didn't you?
yeah, no, it was a straight up, more or less. Well,
Like apartment style.
I mean, it was an apartment,
But it was owned by one person, and there were
right,
two
and they lived upstairs and we lived downstairs. Well,
so-
ours was a 2-floor. I guess,
Okay,
really.
but that was
with a
wasn't-
bunch of rooms.
So that wasn't technically one.
It was 2 different places.
I'd say that's
We had a- yeah.
apartment style duplex.
Yeah, I think you're right because it was 2 completely different units.
Mm-hmm.
So you are right about that. One piece of like living space I always found interesting in the Czech Republic were a lot of the old block style buildings, because the funny thing is on the outside they don't look very good. It's just a
Block style.
the block buildings. You saw my apartment complex in the
I
Czech
see.
Republic.
I see.
Just those blocks. I forget. I think they're called panelaki, if I remember correctly. Something along those
They really
lines. in
spice
Czech.
them up with color, though.
They do, at least where I live. But if you go to different areas in the Czech
don't
Republic,
always
it
do
wasn't
that.
always like that. Yeah. But my point is, on the outside, they don't really look great. But goddamn, they are functional, and the insides of them. I mean, you remember you visited my apartment. The interior was actually fairly decent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it
you
was
got a good amount of
modern.
space.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the European vibe. Is that very kind of modern, sterile vibe?
Right.
Like they love, especially. I remember in Germany, but in a lot of these places, they love like the hard sort of. What's that white material? Granite or marble?
Tile?
No, not even tile. But it's just like a very IKEA vibe,
Okay, right.
But it's not even not even in like a low quality kind of thing, but just in that like white, a lot uses of like whites and grays, and like I don't know. I just feel like I got a lot of those vibes when I was there, and not a lot of like wood floors,
Right.
Or not a lot of like really variation from like that grayscale.
Well, I think some places in Europe too, though. I don't think marble is incredibly expensive.
Is that what it is? How do you
think
know
so.
these things? You just keep pulling out these
Well,
random amazing facts.
Because I've been to a lot of places in Europe, and
marble
you've
is
seen a
cheap
lot of
in Europe. Okay, good
like
to know.
like for example, we stayed in a really nice place in Koblenz in Germany, and they had a lot of nice marble countertops and stuff.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, and well, think about it. I mean, if you think about where a lot of it's manufactured, because I know
It's cold. That's why I don't like it. It's cold,
Right.
And also, I've fallen down the stairs before, and it's painful.
Ooh, that would be painful for sure. I do think we tend to do a lot more carpeting in the U.S.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
I would say.
But I even think wood is more warm than like the like.
Right.
But yeah, carpet is.
But see, I think we also use a lot of wood in the U.S. because we build a lot of housing out of wood. Whereas if you look at other apartment complexes or houses, and I think that's another reason why we actually see more people in houses in the States than in other countries in Europe is because, like, my friends in Germany who have houses, those things are usually made out of like brick or concrete, and those things are going to last like 200-300 years.
Is it because they're also already old, super
Well, some
old?
of them are already super old. Even the new ones, like my cousin,
They built
her
new
and
houses?
Her partner built a new one. They live in a smaller town, kind of out in the country in Germany. It's beautiful out there, by the way. It's near Stuttgart, kind of in the countryside near Stuttgart in that area. And the nice thing about their house is I'm pretty sure it's all concrete.
Do you know? Is it expensive to buy a house in Germany?
Can be very expensive. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not an easy process.
According to my cousin, it definitely was not.
Or maybe it's easy. It's not about whether it's a hard or easy process. I guess.
Well, especially
do you
if
have the
you
money?
build them. Because if you build them, there are certain codes, and you know how Germany
And they
is with
care
that
a lot
stuff.
more about history than we do here too.
Yep. There are certain codes and different things, and right. Whereas here, I feel like I've
if
seen
there's
so many.
space,
I've seen people. I have watched
something on
numerous YouTube videos of people building a log cabin. Not that I think I could ever do it myself, but
Yeah.
I've seen
But
lots
they have
of videos.
kits. They
Right.
have kits.
Well, I even saw some. You could order those house kits. It blows my
I don't
mind.
understand how do they deliver it? Do you know? Have you seen
probably a
these videos?
giant truck? I don't know, but I'm guessing probably a really, really big truck. But yeah, it's really fascinating to see that kind of stuff. I mean, once again, I mentioned Red Dead Redemption earlier this episode. There's actually a portion in that video game where you can go to the lumberyard and buy a quote unquote basically a pre-cut house, which blows my mind. Just the idea of you order this thing, you can order a house on Amazon now, Jared.
No, you can't.
Yeah, go on Amazon.
No, come on.
I think they're about $30,000. You want to start a really fun project,
Do I type
Jared?
in house.
I think it's like either pop up or pre-cut house or something like that.
Oh no, they're
you'll
showing
get
me
the
the TV
TV
show
show.
house, pre-cut house,
or build house or
pre-cut house kit.
there we go. You'll see.
Oh, but these are toys.
I saw it on Amazon. I kid you not.
Yeah, I'm sure. I believe you. It's just I need to get the wording right. You know.
Let's see here. I'm trying to think. Factory made house because I think it's like
Factory made house.
let's see here. Let's see what pops up. And this is
No, we're
this
not.
is
All right, we're not going to
all
try
right.
too hard.
Anyways,
but I believe you.
But yeah, I have
you.
seen them on Amazon before. The houses. Yeah.
Another home style that we should get to, the igloo.
Oh yeah.
You know, when I saw
Yeah.
this, we always learn that the igloo is, even though it's made out of snow and ice, the way it's very well insulated to where you're not freezing inside of there. Did you ever make an igloo as a kid?
I never made a full one. We always got like to the walls where the walls were a certain height, and we never made the roof.
I feel like I've made a full one before.
Oh, nice.
I feel like
Okay.
we haven't had good enough snow in Michigan to make, or at least
Not
around here, to
lately,
make one
yeah.
in like years.
Right, because I'm looking outside right now, and I don't even think there's any
No.
snow on the trees or
Certainly can't make
anything.
one. It's cold
Right.
though.
It
Certainly
is cold.
Um,
25 degrees, yeah.
And so yeah, the terraced house. This is like the full house.
Yep.
Or even Chicago. I've seen. You can see these in Chicago too. And then like I think we've gone through all of the
We've
houses.
covered a lot of them.
Yeah,
That was a very good big-ass list right there.
that was a big ass list of houses
For sure. So I think it's pretty clear both of us at some point we're looking for houses because
Sure.
we're both in Michigan, right? But if we were to live somewhere else, I'm just curious, one place that I think would be amazing to maybe live either for a short period of time or as a vacation place would be like a bungalow in a different country. Like we've talked about Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I
something
wonder
like that.
how hard it is to buy a home in another country?
Depends on the
Like,
country and the laws.
If you have the money and the money's not a concern,
Right.
How hard is it to buy a vacation home in another country, even if it's not some sort of
I think we just found a new episode
George
topic,
Clooney
by the way.
chalet, but some just some tiny little house you can know.
We should do an episode on vacation houses. In
Yeah, do you
want to
go halfsies on a farmhouse in Scotland?
Hell yeah, dude. I would rather go halvesies on a place in Central or South America because I think flight and travel wise, that would be easier for us as Americans to get to.
Okay.
Generally
Sure,
speaking.
yeah, that makes sense. You don't have to cross an
I will
ocean.
say this, though. I do know at least, because I had a buddy who considered buying a house in Thailand. He told me that actually in Thailand...
American.
Yes, an American. He was an English teacher over there for quite a few years.
Okay.
And he was telling me that the cool thing was is his employer actually, they had a really nice house for him, but it kind of got his wheels starting to turn and think, well, okay, if my
I afford
employer
one of
can...
these?
Exactly. And he was saying that the tricky thing with buying a house in Thailand, at least, is actually if you're a foreigner and you don't have like a residency, that like permanent residency or whatever that
Right.
visa status is, a Thai person actually needs to own 51% of the property.
Okay.
So they're the quote unquote majority owner.
And they probably also, it's probably not great for people to just buy a house and then just like have it be unoccupied,
Right, right.
It's kind of like,
well,
it's
yeah,
like,
you're taking up living space
why would
for
the
people who could
neighborhood
need it.
or people in that
Right.
area want that?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true.
So yeah, but we should definitely explore that topic a little more in the future.
Sure.
Some travel houses.
Sure.
But so anyway, so for me, I think if I had to pick, I think one of my most favorite places to live so far when I've been abroad, as much as I really enjoyed my apartment in China, which is beautiful. The location was fantastic. I think probably my favorite one, Jared, had to have been my apartment actually in Chomutov because, well, number one, because it was just that view was gorgeous, right? We had the view of the city of Chomutov, but then you could also kind of see the Ore Mountains in the background, which I really liked. I also just liked the overall layout of the place. It wasn't super big, but it was roomy enough where I didn't feel packed in like a sardine. I'm not the best person in terms of like cleaning stuff, so that was also fairly easy to clean and maintain as well.
What's cost of a living like in, say, Prague, for example?
Prague is expensive.
It's expensive?
Prague is expensive.
Properly expensive?
Right. Prague is kind of
Okay.
like the New York of the Czech Republic,
I guess so. I mean, obviously, it's going to be more expensive than Chomutov. I'm not surprised at that, but I was wondering is it like
especially if you
prohibitively
buy a
expensive?
place. If you buy a
Okay.
place, yeah, it's
Sure.
Especially new places that have been built. I had a guy I was giving English, like I was tutoring him basically over there.
Mm-hmm.
He was like an older gentleman, not older, but he was in his mid
Older than
40s.
you.
Yeah, and he was pretty high up in a company. Anyways, long story short, he told me that. Oh crap! I gotta look on my phone and get the conversion, but I think he told me it was around 9 million crowns to buy a place in Prague now, a new place. I think this was like a 1 or 2 bedroom, if I remember.
Yeah, apartment. He bought an apartment.
Right,
Okay.
right. And now any of our Czech listeners out there, because I do know we do still have some listeners in the Czech Republic, please correct me if I'm wrong. Let us know on translatable.podcast@gmail.com or slide in our DMs on Instagram, because I think that's where most of our listeners are.
You betcha.
But let me look real quick, because I thought he said, I could be completely wrong, but I thought he said it was like 9 million Czech crowns. Yeah, okay, maybe not that high, but that's about 420,000 US dollars
Okay.
for an apartment.
Okay. For a one bedroom.
Yeah, or that
Which is
might be a
actually
2.
That's
but
actually
still.
not bad if you're looking in New York, though.
Right.
To be fair.
Because I do know, like a friend of mine. This was a couple of years back. A friend of mine, they had bought this old house, a farmhouse actually, in the Czech Republic, more or less. Now it needed some work, but they paid around 30,000 US dollars for that house.
Oh wow. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it was a decent sized house.
Okay.
But
I like the
anyways.
idea of a farmhouse.
Okay.
I like the idea of like say living outside of London in some city,
With your Aston Martin.
dude. I was just about to say Aston Martin.
Okay. Okay.
That's crazy. Yes, with my Aston Martin, and it's like parked, and and some of those farmhouses have like a lot of sort of smaller houses off of them. Not even houses,
Right.
but like structures.
Right.
I've seen
build an untranslatable podcast studio.
And
out
so you
there.
like use one of those use one of them as a garage for my Aston Martin, and then it's like, honey, I'm going to the centre of London. I'll be back in a jiff.
Right.
And,
I guess, is it this hand when you're driving on the other side?
it would be, yes, that's true. I'd have to get used to that, and you can't really get Aston Martins on manual anymore. I'll get an old.
Okay.
I'll get
Give
an
an
old
old
one
one,
actually.
right.
Yeah, that's fair. So I do like the idea. I like the farmhouse style because it seems like it's one of the few sort of European situations that offers you a good amount of space. For what seems like a good amount of money, even though it's not like I don't know. It just seems like a good use of space too. And I like the big open rooms. I like the
Right.
idea of that. High ceilings. I like high ceilings.
High ceilings can be nice. I don't know why though, Jared, but in other countries, I would rather actually, I think, live in an apartment. Whereas here in the States, I would much rather have a house.
Why?
Much rather.
Just because it's more expensive or something?
Well, I guess the cost is one factor, but another factor as well, I think, is like, imagine. So I told you my horror story about my washing machine. Actually, I only mentioned one of them.
But if you okay, go ahead.
Another one is like, because the hose, there was an issue with the washing machine hose. It had actually flooded. One day it had broken the handle off the thing, and so there was just water shooting out.
Jesus.
I was taking a nap when this happened.
Weren't we supposed to start recording a podcast soon?
Yep, I think so.
And it was delayed because
Yep.
by you freaking out and trying to figure this out.
Exactly. And so anyways, my whole point is, I cannot imagine trying to then handle that situation and do all the necessary work and replacements.
Remember I told you my place in Philly flooded?
Right.
We got torrential rain and my basement flooded.
Right.
And it was, I mean, I didn't have to, I was not financially responsible for anything, and I was still freaking out, obviously.
Yep.
But
so that's the reason, is that unless that country where that I have that place that I'm living in or staying in, unless I can speak the language so well that I can get all that stuff done, and I also know who and where and how to do all that stuff, I'm sticking with an apartment. If I'm living abroad,
That's
if I'm
fair.
living in,
but you'd be able to speak the language.
maybe
If you own a house in this place,
I don't know, man. If I
hope you'd
bought
be
a
there
house
for
in
long enough.
Thailand one day,
You don't think you could?
retire over there, maybe.
You don't think over the course of 10 years you'd learn
I mean, you'd pick it up, but
enough
probably
Thai to be able to get
maybe
a plumber to fix
probably,
your toilet?
and we are language nerds, I guess. But still, it's not the same
I
level.
understand.
You know what I mean?
I understand.
Whereas in the Czech Republic, I at least had my mentor, which was a great contact. It was her place, so I
Sure.
could contact her directly. But I just imagine like in China. Like if I lived, I guarantee you, man, if I lived in China for 10 years, I could probably speak the language well enough. But still, dude, I mean, the knowing all the government other stuff and how the taxes and the
Yeah.
blah blah blah. That's the
Dude,
tricky
I get
thing.
nervous every year. I just got my W-2 this year. I get nervous every year doing my taxes. Like, all right, let's just hope I didn't screw
Right.
that up.
Right. No kidding. I mean, well,
I don't
Jared,
think I have, by the way, if any IRS
right.
is listening.
Regardless of where you want to live, the only certainty there really is in life, sadly, is death and taxes.
Yes,
you know,
that's true. Popular, untranslatable. Another living arrangement that was new to me was when I went to Tanzania, and I went to Mbaya, which was like in the village, and it was a very like the simplicity of it was what really makes you think about.
Did
like,
you live in a hut?
No, I didn't. I was in a hotel.
Okay.
Because I'm American, and I you expect me to fall asleep without Wi-Fi, in a real toilet. But I did it certainly, like, just spending time in that area just certainly made me think about like all the just like crap that I have, and just like what all the unnecessary stuff. Yes,
Yeah.
stuff that
I mean,
I have.
look
Exactly,
around,
exactly. I mean, my area looks no different than this, and it's just like, and it really just puts into perspective on even like what the point of a home is,
Right.
But we've been indoctrinated here, so I'm screwed.
The other thing is I think another huge factor with homes for a lot of people is pets. If you really think about it,
Yeah,
especially if
that's
you have a
true.
backyard.
Yeah.
That's a really big thing in the U.S. is, if you have pets. I read an article a couple of years back, I think 2017 or 2018, where the article was millennials are buying houses, but not for the reason you expect. The reason you would quote unquote expect would be having a family. Whereas a
for
lot of times
space
they
for
buy
their
it
pets.
for their dog.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious, but I could see it.
That's been
you
a
know?
big part of the conversation for us because our cat loves to try to run out the door as soon as we open the door sometimes. So we were like,
So you think it'd become an outside cat when you get your house?
No. I'm thinking of like, in this house, it'll be easy for us to get out of the house without the cat running out. Especially if we're in a theoretically bigger place.
Right.
We don't know where the cat is for long. Like now we know we can get out with the cat just shooting up behind us is more what it is.
Okay.
So yeah. Anything else you want us to talk about houses? Anything else interest you? I think
we've covered a lot of it.
I agree.
Different styles. Why there is why people like houses.
The investment.
Yeah.
Is the investment level there in other countries? Like once you've bought the house, I wonder.
That's a good question. Yeah, I think.
I imagine it must be.
Well, I do know from talking to my ex, who was Russian. I do know that Russians, I don't know about actually in terms of an apartment or house, but in Russia, if you're a Russian citizen, you actually do get a certain amount of land. I do think you buy the land, but there are really good, I think, like interest rates and different things.
You get
like
a certain
that.
amount. Then what do you mean you get a certain amount?
Like every Russian citizen has the right to this amount.
To buy
Yes.
this amount of land.
Right, but I think the government, the way they
The
have
right
it set
to
up,
buy.
right.
Okay.
But I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I had just remember we had talked about because I think her stepdad had. I don't really remember it all now. This was quite a while back.
They make it. You get a good, but it's just the land.
Right.
There might not even be a house on this piece of land.
Right. But the fact that you do have that option is kind of nice.
Sure, and that already gives you some sort of
and there's a financial incentive.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
When we're talking about investments.
And you could sell that, I imagine. Could you?
Sell it or buy and hold. If you think about it, if you have a family. Right. Well, and if you have a family, you're thinking about your kids and your kids' kids.
That's true. If you're trying to build a manor.
Right. Whereas that's the interesting thing, though, about housing in China, Jared, is that technically I don't know all the mumbo jumbo and all the terms, but from what my very basic understanding is in China, the way my student explained it to me was your parents can buy property. Mm-hmm. You own that property, but technically the owner is actually the government, and so you only own the rights to that property for 70 years. Now think about that. In theory, if you're a healthy person...
So you have to rebuy the house again in 70 years,
Well, basically what this means is your kids don't automatically inherit your house.
That's weird.
Which is very weird.
Yeah, that's very un-American.
The other interesting thing,
but
too...
it's not America.
Well, it's China. Right. The other interesting thing about that, though, is that... if we do have any Chinese listeners, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. From my understanding, it is kind of expected if you're in a relationship and you're going to marry someone that as the dude... you have to basically have a place where it's like, yep, I'm either going to buy this house or...
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense. In old school culture.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right. Which is also another big difference, I think, why we like houses more, is we like our freedom, our independence, and most Americans, not all, but most Americans, we don't live with our extended family, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the stereotype in the States is you're 18, you can move out or you go to college maybe, and even when you go to college, you move out. And then most of the time, if you move back in with your parents, you're kind of viewed as, like you're that person living back with your parents. Whereas in other countries, it's completely normal. No one bats an eye if you live with your parents well into your 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, because you take care of them and they help you raise your children.
Yeah.
Whereas, we have daycare, we have nursing homes, we have all these different things.
We pay for that stuff.
Right.
We let other people take care of all that stuff.
Right. Which has its, there's pros and cons to both in some regards.
I guess so.
I will say this. I would much rather have a actual professional taking care of my parents than me. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a...
I guess so.
But
it's not a doctor that would be taking care of them.
Well, right.
You can't unless you hire a live-in doctor. That's probably quite pricey.
That's serious baller status.
Yeah.
That's when you're in that whatever.
But
the
I
name
understand
of
what you're saying. I understand
your French provincial house. And you call
exactly.
What was that movie? We talked about that one movie. They remade the movie.
Gerard Butler movie.
Yes. No. They remade the movie. It was about the French guy who was a paraplegic, and he hired the guy. I'm so sure we talked about this in the podcast. He hired a black guy that was kind of from like a rough area in France to come help him, and they redid the movie with, I think it was Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston.
Kevin Hart and
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Look it up. But I watched the French movie first.
The Upside?
There we go. There we go. Did we not talk about this on the podcast?
I've never.
But anyways, the French dude lives in a fancy ass place. That's where, and has the guy is his assistant.
I think my problem is I can't take Kevin Hart seriously enough to.
Right. Well, watch the original French one. The French one's really good.
What's it called?
Well, if you just look up Upside French version, it'll
true,
pop up.
That's true.
But yeah, I couldn't tell you what. I only got through half of this
Intouchable.
one. There we go. The Untouchables or Intouchables. It's a really funny movie. It's pretty good.
Okay. Oh, it's a funny movie.
I mean, it's.
Oh, so
yeah,
Kevin. So that's why, not why, but
Right.
that makes more sense why Kevin Hart's in it. Okay.
But I think this one is a lot better.
Sure.
So, anyways, yeah. So if you're
watch
a
it,
baller
sure.
like that, you can get your live-in care, I guess.
Yeah.
For sure. But I think at the end of the day, if we had to boil it down, Jared, if we're both in Michigan, I would say we both are team house.
Yeah. Sure.
And I'd probably go for my ranch for the time being. You know,
I'm into the Tudors. I'm a Tudor head. I'm not saying that's, but that's those are the ones that are my favorite style.
Hey, in Detroit, Tudors are pretty awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
cool ones.
Yeah.
Some good ones for sure. Definitely.
I like the brick.
Definitely.
All right.
For sure. Well, people, let us know what kind of houses or living arrangements you're into, especially from your country. I'd be very curious to hear how some different people are how people be living out here in these streets, Jared. So let us know at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can slide into our DMs on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, or on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. Also, please give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you, because that's definitely something we're trying to do out here. And lastly, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania. Hopefully, maybe by next year or in a couple of years, we'll both have a nice place where we can have a brand new, very customizable, untranslatable studios.
Hey, come over to my Tudor.
That's right. Come over to my ranch, bring your chicken wangs. We're going to eat it with some ranch. We're going to have a good old time.
Yes, good old American time.
That's right, dude. You're not allowed into my ranch unless you have a cowboy hat on. Sorry,
That's fair.
That's just standard.
That's fair. I never leave the house without one. That's foolish.
You know, same with if you're in one of those plantation style houses, you gotta have a goofy ass Southern accent. Wear one of those with the frilly collar things.
I'm gonna buy one of those plantation houses, and to reclaim it, I'm only gonna drink Twisted Tea.
Smack. Smack. That video is
only
so
Twisted
good.
Tea in this plantation.
Right. Has someone memified that into a song yet?
I don't know.
I thought I saw one
that did. Probably.
Gotta be, right?
Of course there has to be.
Gotta be.
This is the internet.
Is undefeated.
Exactly.
Undefeated.
But the popular one is Sway the Remix God, and I know he didn't. He hasn't done anything. So if you're looking for the
Here, yep. Twisted Tea, Smack. This might get taken off of YouTube.